it was a wonderful thing to see and to get close to some of these residents and some of the students to see how their lives were and what was a daily day like, what kind of music therapy did they do. And so it was, and that's what we thought would be a wonderful thing to incorporate into our film the day of. Yvonne and I wrote it and had, intention for it to be the most beautiful film. Every frame was going to be as beautiful as we could make it. The place was beautiful. Verdi's music is beautiful. And it was wall-to-wall music from beginning to end.
Hi, Christine.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. So lovely to meet you.
It's great to meet you too.
Are you originally from Italy?
No, I'm from America, but I have my Italian citizenship. I'm from New York, born in New York. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
ancestors from Italy.
Yes,
But Christine, where are you based at the moment?
in LA, Los Angeles.
Is it important for you to be there
It's an
for
interesting
the film
thing.
industry?
Well, I lived in New York for many years, New York City, and I've lived here the last maybe 35 years, so I go back and forth to New York. And they're both important, but Los Angeles, I'm an Academy member, so there's a lot of Academy events that I go to, and that's where I really see so many of my peers and have been able to be introduced and meet great people that I brought onto my films. So that's an important part, but there's great people in New York as well. But Los Angeles just has let's say the majority of people that are in the industry are here.
Okay. And how did you get into the film industry? Was it something you wanted as a child?
It's very interesting. When I was young, we would go to my grandmother's house for sauce every Sunday. And after sauce, I would beg anyone to take me to the movies. And I was like 6, 7 years old. And then I would insist that we stay to see it twice. So
Really?
yes, I was really, so I love being immersed in those worlds, these new worlds that I knew nothing about, that had color and sound and that were exciting to me. And I was always a big dreamer. And a lot of those would be incorporated into my dreams, those colors, those images.
Mm-hmm.
So I was obsessed with that. And, now I have these 2 opera documentaries. And it was interesting also that my grandmother would play Verdi and Puccini as she made her sauce on Saturday for Sunday.
Really?
And so as a child, I would be listening to these beautiful arias. I didn't really know very much about opera. My grandmother told me a little bit in her Italian, broken English and Italian. And so I have this karma with Verdi and Puccini. It's very interesting.
Wow.
So from a young age, it was kind of in my DNA.
But tell me about this tradition of going to your grandma. What do you say? What you went for sauce?
Yes, for Italian sauce. So we would have pasta on Sunday, and it would be my grandmother, all of her sons and daughters, a lot of them. There'd be a lot of us. And we would have this beautiful festival. It was feast, actually. It was feast of pasta and brigiole and hot bread and everything homemade. And there would be the adult table and then the children's table. And my cousins and I grew up with this tradition. And it was beautiful every Sunday. And Mass was part of it. And I think the spectacle of the Mass was also something that encouraged or inspired me because it was bigger than life. It was these colors and the smell of the incense, the aroma of the incense, and taking you to another world, actually, which, Catholicism and religion often does. That's what it's supposed to do, is elevate your consciousness and bring you to another awareness than just the earth, the day-to-day quotidian things that we do every day. So I think that was a big influence.
Yeah, and in school, did you, were you into music or did you do some form of art?
I went to all convent schools, so I was taught by nuns. So
I see.
that was part of it too, going to Mass every day. And being around Gregorian chant and being a part of that. And I was in the choir, and I was actually in the orchestra as well. I was a percussionist. So during
Really?
the symphonies, yes, I would play the timpani and all these other things. So yes, I always loved music. I had grew up with four brothers, and they were into jazz. And so I there was jazz in my house all the time, and classical as well. So I grew up with music. I always responded and loved music. So that was an important part of it still is an important part of my life.
And
Yeah.
then was there this very distinct time where you made the decision you want to be in the film industry?
Well, it was always in my heart, always, because as
Really?
I said, I loved film, I love spectacle, I love visual stimulation. So I think I was in Boston, and I was running a dance school and dancing every day as well. It was exciting. And one of my friends introduced me to some people that ran the jazz workshop Paul's Mall in Boston. It was the premier jazz club. So I was hired there, and that's really where I learned my chops of PR and publicity
Oh,
and
okay.
went to every concert. It was Ella Fitzgerald. I mean, it was like serious
Oh,
Johnny Cash,
wow.
very
Wow.
high end.
Mhm.
And we also every night it was Ahmad Jamal and Donald Byrd and I mean the best jazz performers in the world. And every night I would go down after work and at least sit for one set and got an education at the feet of these masters, really.
Mhm.
So that music was always in me. And when there were some problems after a couple of years of doing that, they closed some of their theaters and they were paring down. And someone said, there's a really great job at SAC Theaters. They need a director of publicity and promotions. So I said, okay. So I went over there and had an interview, and Leslie Littlehale Block now, who's still one of my best friends, and we're talking a long time ago. And she, we talked and we just got along. And she said, "I want you to come on board and, work with us at Zach Theater." It was 83 theaters in the Boston area. So my first job, I mean, it was like first day, they said, "Okay, Paramount's coming with all the brass," and there was a film. I'm trying to think of it was a Chevy Chase film, and I had to get a character representing each in the film that was represented in the film. And oh my God, I wish I could remember the name of it. But it was there was a pope, and there was all kinds of people that I had to have meet the brass that was coming in from Paramount, including a marching band. So that in 4 days, I had to put all that together. And I'm really good. I'm really good under pressure. So
Oh,
it
is
was
it?
like, okay, I did it. And they were thrilled. And then I got to meet a lot of the head studio people who would come to Boston for premieres. And I love promotion. I love spectacle. I love entertaining. So I really kind of raised the bar there and did all these great things, like having a tennis match in the street for Ellie McGraw had a film. I'm sorry, I can't think of all these films, but it really worked well. And after a year, Universal said, "We want you to move to New York and head up our Northeast be our Northeast field representative." And I said, sounds perfect to me. So they moved me to New York City, and I was in New York City for probably 16 years. So I worked for Universal for 5.5 years and ended up as their New York director of publicity and promotions. And then when Jeffrey Katzenberg and Michael Eisner took over and started the new Disney, they hired me to start their office. There was nobody there. It was one person. And I'm a startup girl. I love
Oh,
startups. I
really?
I do.
Amazing.
I love manifesting and imagining something and then
Mhm.
creating it. So I did that, and that turned out to be great because there was Disney and Touchstone, and that was really exciting. Touchstone was just getting off the ground with all these great movies, so it was an exciting time.
But it's so amazing. So you didn't. you didn't study marketing. You just went with
No.
doing it,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
experience, and saying
Yeah.
yes, yeah, I'll do it.
Baptism by fire is always the way for me. And I'm a quick learner. And I happen to love that. Italians are very much into entertaining. And so my family always had, a lot of events and parties. And so it was a natural for me. So it was easy for me to step into those roles. So, and because I love the medium so much, it was easy for me to do research and to study and to come up with ideas. It was exciting. And then I hired some really good people that I worked with. It was a great time. The 80s and 90s were a great time to be in film.
But you
They're
must
good.
have also a great way to connect with people. That you must have that ability so that people are drawn to you, or that
Right.
they can see your potential.
Right. Well, Petra, I think part of it is that when you're born and raised in an Italian family, and everyone that you meet is your cousin or related to you. You just feel that the family of man is part of your,
Yeah.
part of your
Mm.
your your caress. You know that word caress? It's part of the group that you travel
Oh,
with,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Mm.
So it's easy for me. It was easy for me.
You talk about Italians in that way, that they very open and a little bit dramatic, I would say at times. But my daughter was in a boarding house, and her roommate was Italian. They were it was a ballet school, and I've called her one evening, and we were talking, and in the background I could hear these the Italian girl talking to somebody on the phone. And I said, Suzanne, who's she angry with? Because it sounded very
Uh,
loud. And she said, no, mom, it's just she's talking to her mom.
There's a lot of emotion and a lot of energy that's exchanged all the time, whether it's the phone or in person, and a lot of
Yeah.
physicality, a lot of hugs.
Oh, yeah.
And, you go from one room to the other, and whoever you're with, you hug. I'll see you in a little while. It's
Amazing.
just,
But it's,
yeah, it's just
mm,
the way, we were brought up. And my
mm.
family is Sicilian, so it's even more physical, more um, I don't know, emotional in a way. I think Southern Italians are a little bit more emotional, say, than the Northern Italians.
But you talk about you're a startup girl, you like to create, you like that. It's I almost get the sense you like to create from nothing, having nothing and you have to do something. Does this help you also in finding the films that you're interested in and finding the yeah, the story you want to tell?
Exactly. Yes. I think that the creative process is really an interesting thing. We don't know, where or how it really happens. We just know that it happens, and art's created, and such an important thing for all of us. So I think that I do get ideas, and in my dreams as well. They come to
Oh,
me.
really?
So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm a big dreamer. And I belonged to a dream circle for many years, a Native American dream circle. And so it was really interesting to write down your dreams, to bring them into reality, and to see how they reflect oftentimes your emotions or your vision. I'm spiritual, so I'm a big believer in those things. I'm a big believer of prayer. And I remember when I was at Rogers and Cowan, um, um, I was the head of the film division, and so a lot of people would come in and say, "We need this. We need to launch our film. We need to launch our product." And we would be in these meetings, and things would just come to me. And sometimes I would say, "Whoa, where did that come from?"
Really?
And these
Mhm.
ideas come, and I think I always thought it was inspiration. That divine inspiration that we can channel. Sometimes it just comes in kind of if you are open, and things can flow, that whole thing about the flow of creativity, when you can get rid of your blocks as much as possible and let that energy come up and go up to your crown chakra and
Yeah.
come out. So I really I believe that. I see it often in people and in myself. So that creative process is something that I really I love. I love working with people. I love being having ideas and manifesting them with others as well. That's what's a wonderful part of filmmaking is that you get to create with other people
Mm.
and incorporate their ideas. But it's great to have, and I think, as you said, the projects that I get involved with, I have really fallen in love with. So to be able to work on a Verdi film or Puccini film and have that music around all the time. I was working at the studios for many decades, and Universal, Disney, and Orion, and there were many different types of films that you would have to see hundreds of times because you're shaping the trailer or the TV spots or pulling some quotes or whatever you're doing, you have to know the film inside and out. So I got to know the rhythm of films, and traveling with the directors and producers, I felt I was always again at the feet of the masters, learning and traveling with them and doing interviews and then being able to ask them one-on-one questions as well as I traveled with them. So I was able to understand their creative process and how ideas would come and be formed, and they would work together with their editor, their cinematographer. It's very stimulating for me. I think that I have that left and right brain going kind of equally. I'm really a businesswoman and I'm a creative person. And I think when you're a producer, as I'm a creative producer, it's important to have both sides of your brain working intensely at all times. But those two pieces come together really beautifully in film.
I was going to ask you now because I spoke to a animator who worked at Disney a few years ago, and he talked
Mm.
about this working together. People, you're not alone. You work together as a team and so on. And does that help when because you initially have this idea and then you immediately have the confidence to know, you know what, I can have a team to help me and I can get this off the ground.
Absolutely. With Viva Verdi, I had worked with Yvonne Russo, who's my producing partner and the director on the film at Rogers and Cowan. She came to me and said, "I've got this small film, and I know Rogers and Cowan only does big films, big studio films, but would you work with me?" And it was a Native American film. It was called Naturally Native. And I said, "Yes, I love the idea of it. Let me look at it." And it was wonderful. So we worked together on the film. It was very successful. And then what happened is that she was at Casa Verde in Milan doing for National Geographic the hidden gems of Milan, and that was one of them. And so she called me a short time later and said, "I have this great idea." And she's a meditator. She's very spiritual as well. And she said in her meditation that my name came up 3 times and that she had to get in touch with me. And I said, "Okay, great. What did they say?" And I had happened to be living in Rome with my husband at the time. And so she said, "Well, I got this idea for Casa Verdi. It's this beautiful home that Verdi created in Milan. And he spared no expense. It's stunning. And young students live there and are mentored by the residents who live there, the former opera singers." And so she said, "So it's all these things. It's older opera singers. It's shooting in Milan, and it's Verdi." And I said, "Do you have to say anything else? Sign me up. Let's do
Really?
this." So,
Amazing. So
so she and I,
you immediately had the instinct that
oh
it's
yeah, oh,
intuition that it's really.
yeah. Honestly, Patrick, those were all the things. I love a lot of things, but those were things that I loved. Even my husband said, "That is unbelievable that something could come to you in working in
Yes.
Italy," which was
Yeah.
always a dream of mine. I had my Italian citizenship already at that time. So it was a natural segue to be doing that. And as I love opera, Leonard, my husband and I would go around the world to all these great opera houses, from La Fenice in Venice to the opera house in Australia when we lived in New Zealand. So we were always in opera houses. He was Canadian and very into the arts. So it was
Have you been to the opera house here in Vienna?
yes, of course I have.
Amazing.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
Vienna. is the
Yeah.
place for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Vienna, Vienna is absolutely where music is the highest in my mind.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
It is. We spent
Amazing.
New Year's there 1 year,
Oh,
Christmas and New
really?
Year. Oh my God, it was
Yeah.
unbelievable. Oh yeah, but for
But
me,
anyway, go on. Yeah, I'm so
yeah.
interested in this
So
story. Yeah.
I've gone, yeah, I've gone to so many of the great opera houses. So for this to come to me, and when I was at Universal, we had La Traviata, Franco
Oh, wow.
Zeffirelli's La Traviata, and Jim Katz, who started Universal Classics, that then became Orion Classics for when I worked at Orion, and then really is now Sony Classics. He brought in La Traviata, and nobody really knew much about opera. And I said, Jim, I'm your girl because
Really?
I love opera. I'm obsessed with it. So I worked with Franco closely. And so I got this other education from him, a proper opera education. And we became really nice friends. So when I went to Italy, he would invite me to his home for a lunch and introduce me to a lot of interesting people. It was really a wonderful collaboration with that. So I have these concentric circles going on all the time with Verdi and Puccini. So that was such an interesting thing when Yvonne said, it's a Verdi opera house, and what do you think? And I said, absolutely, let's do it. So we went the next May. That was 2012. In 2013, in May, we, with our own money, we went to Milan and we spoke to the administration and we got permission and we did a little reel. I was there for 3 weeks and we interviewed a lot of people and just saw what the house looked like and worked like with the young students there. And what an exciting thing to have these young people and an older generation obsessed with music,
Yes.
talking about it,
Yeah.
jamming together, being taught, teaching. And for these they weren't retired because they were still performing and creating with great passion and with purpose. And, there's a whole thing right now about active aging and this shift into creativity at any age it's possible. And we're doing, I don't mean to segue, but we're doing screenings right now with hospitals who are following our model, which we always thought when Yvonne and I first went there, we said this is a blueprint for retirement homes all over the world. And this active aging and this intergenerational exchange is such a vital, important part of life, especially the
Yeah.
third act of life. So anyway, we then came back to the States and we did an Indiegogo campaign, raised about 30,000, and we got some equity money from Ron Simons, who was one of our first executive producers. And then we went back again and did a lot of interviews. And Jacek Glaskis, the great cinematographer who worked with Robert Altman, he was our cinematographer. So that was wonderful. And then we went back 3 times, and then we did some other shoots. Just they weren't production shoots; they were just kind of B camera was
Oh,
doing
okay.
a few interviews and some
Mm.
shoots. So we were able to get an arc of these residents. When you start with somebody at 91 and they're celebrating their birthday 5 years later, their 96th birthday, it's a really wonderful thing to see. So we started with Lena Vasta, actually with Tina El Pirani. She was the violinist, and she was 91 when we started, and she was teaching and she was playing every day and
Mm.
had very great philosophy. They're all philosophers, the Italians especially, but older people tend to be. They've lived many years. They have a lot of wisdom to share. And then the next time we went, she was on a walker. And then the last time we went, she was in a wheelchair celebrating her 96th birthday. So we were able to capture this arc of aging and how she kept active the entire time. When she was 96, she
Yeah.
was still playing the violin. Yeah. So it was a wonderful thing to see and to get close to some of these residents and some of the students to see how their lives were and what was a daily day like, what kind of music therapy did they do. And so it was, and that's what we thought would be a wonderful thing to incorporate into our film. The day of, Yvonne and I wrote it and had intention for it to be the most beautiful film. Every frame was going to be as beautiful as we could make it. The place was beautiful. Verdi's music is beautiful, and it was wall to wall music from beginning to end. And Nick Pike, who I hired, who was, as I said, you're at these academy events, you meet a lot of people, and Nick was introduced to me, and our dear friend Alan Rich said, Nick, you've got to meet Christine Lamont. She's got a great project I think you would like. And we talked. I sent him some footage from the film. He fell in love with it and wrote a song and sent me the song, which doesn't happen, unless you commission or hire somebody. So, and that song was Oscar nominated this year. So we were
It's
an Oscar
amazing.
nominated film. I know, it really is. 13 years later, that's a long time to stay
Yes.
stagnant with anything.
And so many questions that I want to ask you now. But first, that I want to say, when you talk about these singers that work with younger singers or younger musicians, so many times where I speak to musicians or even ballet dancers or so, and they start teaching, they say that they learn so much from their students. And I'm thinking now, when you talk about these people, 90 years old, still learning, still, even though they're teaching, but they are still learning in the process. And how amazing is that opportunity is then there as well.
That's right. It's so wonderful and exciting to see, and the energy that's in the air because of that,
Yeah.
because there's music, because there's an excitement and a love and a passion for these types of conversations. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm. And also, you always think there's somebody to look up to, and then you think if you are young, if you are 20 or 25 years old, and you have to start this career, and you see, you are bombarded with, say, social media, where everybody's lives look so perfect. And here you can get to meet somebody who can actually show you that time is the thing that you need to become, an expert at what you do, and rather than being in a hurry. And these people are somebody that they can look up to. I think it's amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
exactly right. There is a concentration and a focus, when you're studying art, any kind of art, but music especially. And you could see it in our film, how there's an intensity and an exchange of energy when that happens. And Claudio Jambi, who's like a shaman, he calls himself a shaman, and he's a Buddhist, and he studied a lot of different philosophies and religions. And when he teaches these young students, he teaches them more than music, obviously. He teaches them about the force of energy that comes up through your chakras, that's important for creation, but especially when you're singing, when you're making music, it goes beyond this reality. So he talks about that. He does yoga with them. It's an all-encompassing education. And what Massimiliano, one of his students who was Italian but was living in Germany, in Berlin, he said he had to study with him. He found him on Facebook and said, Maestro, is there any way? I've been obsessed with working with you and being a Casa Verde. And he said, of course. So he came and he studied with him. And he was probably in his maybe early 40s, maybe, when he was studying. And he said, you can't learn these things in books. You could only learn it at Casa Verde. I mean, obviously, you could learn it from other music teachers or other teachers, but it's important to have a one-on-one exchange where you can really hear and listen. It's with anything, whether you're working out, working a muscle, any kind of a muscle, whether it's your voice or your body, when you have a trainer, when having a trainer. So so it was so exciting to see when they got it right. Also, we filmed a few of those things and included them in the film, and you can see when the students get it right, and Claudio's teaching them, let's create an energy, let's entertain, let's get an audience stimulated so that they're
Mhm.
moved to, to be inspired.
Mhm. It's this I find so wonderful, and that you mentioned that it's not just about the singing or the music, that it's far more. During lockdown, I did a project where I photographed artists here in Vienna, to sort of highlight the fact that the artists were at home, and that they couldn't be in the theaters. So I photographed about 500 artists here in their windows, and amongst
Mm.
those were students, music students here from the music university. And what I loved was when I got to them at the, and we had a little conversation before I took the picture. They all talked about the teachers who supported them in that time, where they felt, some of these young people were at such a crossroad, really, where they were supposed to be auditioning, or they were supposed to go on to another university, and they were stuck. They felt stuck, and you had these teachers who supported them, and not only teaching, because online teaching at that time, was, that was the thing to do, but like one of the students said, it wasn't anymore about the voice. It was then more about the other things, about how do you deal with a situation like that, or how do you deal with this worry about what will happen. And that I thought, there's not many places in life, or parts of life, where you actually have that support from a teacher, not just about the subject, or not just about the art form, but about life. How do you deal with these things? So isn't it amazing that you can still find that?
Exactly. During the pandemic, I think it really leveled the playing field. So we were all in similar situations
Exactly.
trying to
Yeah.
cope with things, and we really could help each other. This is what I do. It was an interesting time. It brought people together actually in ways that we didn't expect, and
Exactly.
created
Yeah.
technology that we're still using that has changed the world. So it's an
Exactly.
interesting thing, the way we evolve and how we evolve and why we evolve, right? So yes,
Yeah, and I found the role of the teacher was then so important. And it's like you say now that, the teacher is not just teaching the art form, but teaching
right.
really other things
Life,
around it as well, you know?
life,
Like,
exactly. It,
yeah,
it's a great thing, and there, especially Claudio Giambi was very generous with his knowledge and his reach. He was able to speak to these students on their level in many ways, not just about the music, as you said, but we're able to educate them on spiritual matters, on living matters, and that's a gift that you don't find all the time. So, as a
yeah,
teacher can change your life easily.
exactly. Yeah, and this is also what I hear. I sometimes ask, is there somebody in your life that made the difference, And it's always, well, I would say 90% the teacher. A teacher had faith in me when I was 14 years old,
Exactly.
or, it was somewhere along the line, there was somebody, and that was a teacher that just made them, or had faith in them.
Exactly. I
Mm.
could name a few nuns actually
Oh,
that
really?
also course, yeah. Yes, it's interesting. Those that really see you. Your
Yeah.
parents see you,
Mm.
and they don't see you in school, and they don't understand sometimes your thinking process, but educators often can. They're in the room with you. And so I always had a lot of energy, a lot of creative energy, going all girls school, black uniforms with white collars and cuffs, and I could never stay in line. It was always, in many ways. So, but I had a couple of nuns that really supported and believed in whatever I was doing. And whatever I was doing was writing, whatever it was good.
But your parents, were they supportive when they knew you were going into the film industry?
Yes, of course, they were always supportive of things that I loved and that I embraced, but I don't think they understood the scope of what I was
Yeah.
doing. And
Yeah.
then my parents were from Buffalo, so they would come to New York City, and I would take them to premieres and introduce them to whoever was there, Anthony
Oh, yeah.
Hopkins and different people. So they understood
Mhm.
what level I was dealing with. And so it was good, especially being the only girl with four brothers. It was a different approach. And when I was growing up, girls were supposed to be either nurses or teachers. So I went off on a
Exactly.
very,
Yeah. Yeah.
very
Yeah.
different tangent, and I said, I'm going to Hollywood.
Yeah.
So
I rem
interesting.
Yeah, I wanted to be an actress, and my mum said, no, it's not a job for girls. So I
Exactly.
became a teacher. Yeah.
Right. But were your parents, were they very supportive of what you eventually ended up doing?
Well, teaching, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I studied teaching, although I always believe that I always had a longing to be an actress or to study
Yeah.
drama. But I
Yeah.
always believed in my children when they grew up, I thought I would find their what was their thing, and if they wanted to do it. So they became ballet dancers, and a lot of people said to me, it's not a long career, and there's not a lot of jobs, and where will they find a contract? And I thought, well, I always believe if you don't do what you are meant to do, you are like somebody with an amputated leg. You can always put a prosthetic leg on, but you yourself will always feel there's a hole. There's something you wanted to do. And I thought I
Exactly.
would rather have them have a short career or have and try it, try if
Right.
they see if it works, rather than them having always wondered, would I have made it? So I always
Absolutely.
believe our lives, we reinvent ourselves all the time. And like you went from working from in one company to another, and it's always a change. So you can never predict that you'll have one job and do that anyway for the rest of your life. So for dancers, it's the same thing. They can just use the skills that they acquired from dancing and transfer it to anything else.
Absolutely. That discipline. Are you kidding
Mhm.
me? The
Yeah.
discipline of a dancer. That has got to be one of the most intense things, definitely.
Mm.
And being able to follow your passion, that's when doors
Exactly.
open. When you have the energy and the love of something that you can. It doesn't matter what happens. Hoops on fire happen, but when you have a passion,
Yeah.
that you can see the other side of it
Mm.
because you want it so badly, and because you can see the potential. You understand such an important thing to follow your passion. It just makes life so much better in general.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I had my performances while my children were teenagers, so I had my Oscar performances in the house, screaming and shouting and do all sorts of
Love
things.
that. That's wonderful. And I think being a teacher is such an important role. And
Yeah.
in many ways, you're not that you're acting, but you're trying to reach all these different
Yes.
personalities. And
Mm.
so you're trying different things when you're trying to reach them. So it's a bit of, I guess it's the compassion or empathy thing that you try on for each
Mm.
person. What works best to reach this person, this young person, this young student that's in their care is in my hands. It's a big
Exactly.
responsibility.
Well, I also have peace with the fact that I didn't become an actress or that I didn't study drama, because I've been speaking to over 1,000 artists, and I've always asked the question, well, how did you get there? And I always realized there was somebody on their way. And I realized there wasn't somebody on my way, not in a sad way, but it was just that I believe maybe it was just not meant to be. Maybe I was meant to now talk to artists rather than than, myself being one. So maybe life takes us, and takes you on that path, and there will be the connections and everything that will happen, like what happened to me. So I just have very much peace for that.
Mm-hmm. But what you're doing is artistry. It really is being an artist, what you're doing and creating this show and preparing for it and orchestrating it. That's a beautiful thing. It's art to me.
Yeah.
And when you do it well, it's high art. And
Thank you. But I love
it,
it. I
yeah, of course.
absolutely love it.
And
Yeah.
that's when you love something, it's easier to be good at it. As I said,
Yeah,
because you can suffer through it because you have this love that's there for it, a passion that sees you
exactly.
through it.
Yeah. But now, back to your film. It's actually about your film. But uh, do you, you said you immediately knew, but then there must be it's the funding, it's the all the logistics
Yeah.
around it. Do you immediately know, okay, it will fall in place?
Well, it's as I said, it took 13 years. But documentaries are often like that. You kind of piecemeal things together. You go, you can edit a little bit, you raise more money, then you find,
Oh,
the
okay.
next piece that you need. And we were lucky we were able to find great executive producers who supported us and gave us great funds. And Yvonne and I own our film, which is another really important part of doing art when you can own your property. And so we're making decisions together about distribution. We're on Jolt.film right now, which is a wonderful streaming platform. And we're making the next step to do some educational. Somebody's interested in us for educational rights. So it will be in libraries and schools and other places. So that we were able to do that ourselves is a very big deal. That we were able to raise the money, finish the film, and deliver to our executive producers. And that's, for me as a producer, that's just as important as anything else. They were able to be Oscar nominated is a very big deal. When you give someone $100,000 at the beginning of a film, you have no idea, are they going to finish it? Is it going to be good? Is it going to be in festivals? Who's going to get it into the festivals? Then is there somebody smart enough to do an Oscar campaign? All those questions. So you have people that really believe in you and trust you. And I take that very seriously. So I'm very happy that we were able to deliver for our executive producers who believed in us and trusted in us for many years.
So you have really this creative talent, but you also have this business talent. So you know how to
Absolutely.
raise the money and
Absolutely.
mm,
And watching the budget and trying to be as careful as you can with each dollar and just all of that. So important. And and also being a strategist, I'm a studio girl and was educated in the studios, and they're very strict and have a specific way of doing things. And the independent producer way is not always, it's a little bit looser. And so I bring these other skills of being able to, number one, the first day you have to have a log line, you have to be on IMDb, you have to have a poster ready because you have to make it as real as possible for your investors so they can envision what your vision is.
see, yeah. Mm.
So all those things. So being trained in that respect is a very important part of launching a film, of manifesting a film. You have to be able to visualize it in order, in my mind, to make it happen. And Yvonne and I have very similar ideas. We, obviously agreed you have to be aligned with your vision. And we both had the same vision about this film, that it's going to be, part of Verdi's legacy, that it will be as beautiful as possible, like his music, that it will be a blueprint for other retirement homes, and that we're so respectful of the people that live there and the young students who are taught there. So it was, and we check in with each other and say, are we on base? Are we following our intentions? It's important to come back every once in a while and say, what is our intention? Where are we going with this? Because you could get really lost sometimes. There's so many other things that are in front of you, and it might be convenient to go a different way, and a little bit less costly. But if you stick to your vision, I think that authenticity then comes through in your film. People can understand and see the love that you put into it, and the care and attention.
Yeah. So you say it's been 13 years that you've worked on it.
Yes, 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 it is.
Incredible.
And a lot of things have happened that have been incredible. A lot of people that I've met, Fred Plotkin, who is the premier opera impresario, if you want to use that word. He's an expert in Verdi. He's a Verdiani, and also with Puccini and Wagner, and he knows everybody in the opera world. And he's made such wonderful introductions for us and been very supportive and a champion of our film. So there's been angels that have come on board and help move our project forward. And I always say, Verdi sent you. So I believe that, that there's destiny for film. I believe in karma. I believe that things
Absolutely.
happen for a reason. And
Yeah,
I
you
really hope.
see. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I was saying about these, so we did a really robust festival run, and it was great all over. It was wonderful. We started in Woodstock, and then Santa Barbara, Mendocino, Boulder, Toronto. Beautiful festivals, and a lot of encore screenings, because once the word of mouth got out, once they had the first screening, I think there will be a clamoring for more screenings. More people really wanted to see it at the festival, so they would do a second screening. And Yvonne and I were often on panels to talk about our creative process, to talk about opera, music, the third act of life, all those things, and how creativity is so important at any age, and how music is medicine, all these themes that run throughout our film. So that was very rewarding for us to be able to talk about our process, and talk about the themes of our film. People were really curious. Everybody had somebody, whether it was themselves or their parents, or that were either in a retirement home and they wanted more music. And so we're doing a hybrid distribution with the film. So licensing the film to opera houses, to retirement homes, to community centers. That's been an exciting part for me. This is the part that I love, where the film comes alive in different ways. It's one thing to be on the screen, but then to be incorporated into your life, as a blueprint, as an important way of opening conversation about aging, ageism, and all the kinds of things. It's very exciting.
And
So we're,
yeah.
we're partnering with places like Juilliard School of Music,
Oh, okay.
and it has an extension program. So 13,000 people go to these extension courses, and half of them are over 65.
Really?
Yes. And they're all about creativity at any age. Learning anything at any age keeps you vital, keeps you involved, keeps you engaged, keeps your mind and your body active, which is one of the secrets to a longer and
Absolutely.
well-lived life. So so wonderful to be connecting with these partners and creating screenings and events and conversation, so art can be a game changer. So art can
Absolutely.
really
And
move things
yeah.
along.
And this is also why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I believe that we should start realizing, and I mean, the science has been done, and
Right.
it's out there that this is so important. And I want to really, my wish is that we get children involved more, and that schools are involved, and that we see art as such an important part of education. Because at the time in lockdown, when I did this project, I asked myself, why are the restaurants open and the shops are, open, but the theaters stay closed? And after speaking to so many artists as well, I realized, but why art is not valued because we at a young age already put art as a side subject in a school, half an hour on a Friday afternoon, whereas it should be a main subject. It should be alongside science and maths and these subjects because they're all interlinked. And something like this that you're doing as well is just showing again the importance of art, the importance of music at that age, but it's also important already for young people to understand the value of it.
Exactly. We're doing workbooks. We're going into high schools and colleges and hopefully
Wonderful.
grammar school as well. We want to educate, we want to get the arts back into the schools. Just as you said,
Yes.
it's
Yes.
part it's the first thing that they cut here, especially.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we're doing that, and we're being very successful at people responding to the need for this and supporting our vision of it, and that's been great. In my other documentary, Ai Weiwei's Turandot, is another game changer as well because it's all about social justice. And Ai Weiwei, the great artist, who is a revolutionary activist and for social justice. And so in this film, it's really about art representing the people and and changing things as well. So I'm very happy and feel very blessed to have two films that are working on those tracks.
Yes. I was very excited when I read about your film because I thought it's also something like opera or something in the line of music where it's sometimes you think you see a lot of people or opera is seen as only a few people are interested or not a lot of people know the stories, and the stories, if you look at all these stories, and like you say now, it's all connected really with real life. You can take all these old operas and you can find something in our lives today where you can relate to it, so these
Absolutely.
are amazing stories.
Exactly. And storytelling is a lost art. And it's in
Yes.
opera, it's in movies, it's in other places that are so important. So yeah, and to see these on a big screen is another important part. I hope that theaters don't go away. I hope there's a way to sustain them through good films. I hope that they'll come back.
Yeah.
It's tough right now. I mean, I'm okay with people seeing our films anywhere, but being seen on the big screen is really it's breathtaking to see, especially Ai Weiwei's Turandot, the opera. It's so stunning, the production design itself, the costumes, the music, and to have that, bigger than life is what art
Yes.
should be sometimes, right?
Yeah. And this is also so amazing about opera is that if you think of how many art forms are connected to make an opera, to put
Right.
up an opera, it's incredible.
That's
It's
right.
yeah.
That's right. And that's what I love about our film is that we're able to go behind the scenes
Oh
and
wow. Yeah.
watch Ai Weiwei. There's only maybe five great artists on the global stage right now, and Ai Weiwei's one of them, one of the leading ones. And to see him in conversation, collaborating with other artists, talking about costume design, talking about production design, and having a little intimate look behind the scenes is always to me
I
exciting.
love it. Yeah.
I love behind
Yeah.
the scenes.
Me
It's
too. Yeah.
yeah.
I
What
also
sign are you, Victor? What sign are you?
I'm a Libra.
I'm an Aries. You're polar opposite. Yeah.
And all my children are Tauruses, so they override me many times.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, air and earth. I got it. But that's Victor. It's good. It's good.
They
Yeah.
always say to me, "Mom, come from your cloud, come down from your cloud." And I say, "No, I love it up here."
I have no earth in my chart at all. So I'm a little out there myself. But my husband was a Virgo and that would ground me. So that was always
Um,
good.
oh,
Yeah. I always ask my business partners, what sign are you? So I can understand how to work with them.
yeah.
Yeah. Yvonne's a Gemini and Maxime Dadavenko, who's the director of Ai Weiwei's Turandot. Yeah, I think he's a July baby. So it always works out well, but
Yeah.
it's good to know. It's good to know kind of
I
which
also,
direction they might
yeah,
go.
I find it also interesting, to know because it is true. You just know who you're dealing with.
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
Exactly.
mm.
So
But
I'm
no, carry
another
on.
Italian documentary called Children of the River,
Oh,
Figli
I
dei
read about that.
Fiumi.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's exciting with Federico Rodelli. And what's so great, Petra, is that Federico, I hired one of the first day when I was at Casa Verde when we were working on the film. And he went on to be this incredible filmmaker. And so I'm producing his film, which is beautiful. We're in post production. And then Maxime Dedovenko, when I was living in Rome, he was my mentee. He was
Oh, wow.
21.
Mm.
And so, and then when we started filming, I said, Maxine, you've got to come up and be our cameraman. So he came up. Then when he went back down to Rome, he became the head video and film person at the Rome Opera House for 7 years. And that's when he then got to know Ai Weiwei and decided this is the project that he
Oh, I
wanted to do.
see.
So
Mm.
I have these concentric circles with people that I've worked with. And it's such a nice thing to have, like shorthand with them. We
Mm.
speak the same language. We understand sensibilities. So it's been really wonderful.
But you must have. It's for me wonderful that you did all these. You have all these experiences where you dealt with all these big studios. You know the timeline of things. So
Right.
if when you we talk about 13 years working on a documentary, do you stay motivated? Do you find times where you think, where is this going to, or when is this going to finish, or do you know it's this timeline?
Oh no, I'm always going Verdi.
Oh, really?
Years ago, it's come on, Verdi. I mean, we've been working on this for a while. Come on, help us out here. No, I'm
Okay.
always I believe that it's going to happen. And
Mm,
if I didn't, I couldn't go on. But it's
yeah.
like it's tortuous. It's torturous sometimes to, fill in the time when you want to go fast. I want to go fast all the time, and I want to move forward. I want to move things forward and move a little faster. And each film has its own timing for whatever reason. It's like a baby being born, really. So our film came out at a very specific time and not during COVID, but now we thought maybe, 2020 or 2021 is when we thought we could have our film finished, but it turned out to be 2024 actually is when we had our Woodstock screening. So it's all for a reason. It's in the stars. They're born just like we are under the stars. So I feel that they have their own karma too in the
Mhm.
world.
But with the documentary, so you have this idea and you write the script, or you write not the, I mean you write the juice
The spine of it, and
of the
how
whole.
it
Yeah.
evolved, and even some of it we did a reenactment
Oh,
in
okay.
Verde because one of the residents, Mario, we'd say, what is your routine when you go to bed at night? And he showed us, and we said, that's so beautiful. So we reenacted that. So,
Oh, I see.
you write that out. But we
Yeah.
had a vision. You do a paper cut initially of what it's gonna look like, what it's gonna be. And then you fix things and you pull some of the quotes and you write around those quotes. So
But do you
yes.
find along the way that things change and that it ends up being more or better than you expected to?
Absolutely. Right, because it's kind of like being a sculptor and you have a piece of marble and you kind of go in, you kind of know what you want to create, but as you go in, there's a vein here, and so you make that into something. or there's a piece of the marble that's maybe chipped out or something. So you use it. You don't get rid of it, you use it. So we had so much beautiful footage. We could have gone on. This could have been a TV series so easily because
Amazing.
there's so many great characters. So there's the characters of the residents. There's the house itself that could speak because it's filled with Verdi's voice, if you will. And then there's the students and their lives. And it's the residents and their life before they got there. So what brought them there, their great careers. And then there's the people that work there in their lives and how they interact. There's so much going on. It's almost like a little soap. I see it sometimes. So I would love to do a TV series on this. It would be beautiful.
Yes. Do
Yeah.
it,
You
Christine.
know,
Do a TV series.
I do. And, it's so
Mm.
funny because every time we do a Q&A, I say, and this is going to be a TV series. And Yvonne looks at me and I go, it's going to be because it's so perfect for it. It's so beautiful. And it has long legs. It has so much intricacy. And there's so many wonderful stories of these opera singers and musicians and how they got there. It would be so wonderful to do flashbacks and to,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
maybe I can see it. I see it already. Petra, it's one of those
It's going
things
to
where
happen.
I absolutely see it. Yeah.
Just with a short amount of time that I spoke to you, I'm sure it's going to happen. Yeah.
I hope so. It's rich. I just feel it's rich material.
Mm.
So we'll see. We'll see.
So do you work on different projects at once, or do you like to finish one thing?
Um, I'm a multitasker.
Uh,
So I always have a few things going on at the same time. Yes, I do. I didn't know that Ai Weiwei's Turn Dot was going to be so fast and come into play at the same time as Viva Verdi. It's unusual to have two opera documentaries on the Academy portal at the same time. I don't think that's ever happened before. There's not very many opera documentaries, but to have two of them that I produced on the Academy portal was kind of an exciting thing. It just happened that way. Just the timing of it happened. So, and we couldn't hold back either film. They were just right. It was time to get them out there. So we were able to do that. And so now with Ai Weiwei, we'll be on TV soon in Italy. And I think Rai's going to broadcast it. And then, we'll do some theatrical there. And with Viva Verdi, we'll be part of the Parma Film Festival, the Verdi Film
oh
Festival in
wow.
Parma in October. If you're close by, we'd love to have you there. It'd be wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Where in? Mm?
October 10th is
Oh, okay.
his Verdi's birthday, and that's when we'll show our film, the 10th or the 11th.
Amazing.
Yeah, so a lot of things to look forward to. We're talking to the UN about showing the film in March. There's so many wonderful things happening with both these films and with Children of the River as well. I feel really blessed to be able to be in the flow all the time creatively with creative people that I respect and get a lot of joy from these films. As I said, there could be horror films are a big deal right now. I don't think I could do a horror film. I would not want to
Mm.
live with blood and guts and
No,
gore.
no. And
But working with Verdi and Puccini has been such a joy. And the third film, Children of the River, is a slow cinema. It's it's less dialogue, more visuals, very poetic, and it's about three men who live along the Po River in search of their ancestry, in search of their spirit, and they all have different approaches. So it's really beautiful to look at. And the Po is a sacred river in Italy, the longest and the most sacred river in Italy. So it's
really
spiritual elements to it.
amazing. How I wish that you can come to Vienna with your films as well. I don't know how,
No,
but
I will let you know. We will have international
yes,
rollout. I absolutely will let you know.
yeah,
Yes, yeah. And then the other project that I have that I wanted to mention is my husband was an author as well as a CEO, um, Len Williams, and Justice Deferred he wrote, and that's in development. So it was at Warner
amazing.
Brothers. Warner Brothers picked it up for
Mhm.
Tobey Maguire's company, and now the rights are back to me. So hopefully, we'll get that out. Laura Curran is doing the script, so that's going to be a feature, and that's going to be a kind of a different area and different track. Also,
Christine, you are such an inspiration. You just go with it, you just do your thing. I love it.
yeah, I'm excited about life. I embrace it, and I feel blessed every day and fortunate, very fortunate, and thank God every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you say you're a dreamer, but what is the big dream for you?
This is really interesting. This morning, the Met Gala was last night.
Mm.
And growing up, besides wanting to be in film, being a producer and a director, I wanted to be a fashion designer.
Really?
And there's a young guy, I think his name is Max Anderson, maybe. He's 10. And I watch his videos as he creates fashion and dresses, and he cuts them, and then he takes his material and he's
I think I
wrapping it
saw.
around.
It's on
Oh
social
my God,
media. I think I saw
it
him.
is. I'm so excited about that. And I think sometimes maybe it's not too late. I love fashion. And of course, being an only girl, I was, spoiled a little bit in that respect. And I want to design clothes. I want to be a
Really?
clothes designer, fashion designer. Yeah, I do. It's in my dreams. I've created boots and other things in my dreams. Crazy, right? I just want to pull that part out and work with it. And I think I also have a couple of books in there too. I've been around, and I have some really interesting anecdotes and some funny stories and just some
But
things
you
I'd like to say.
but you said that you like to create from nothing, and well, there's the fabric, and you can do it. Yeah.
Exactly. I love that idea, and I love different fabric, whether it's in film or like with Viva Verdi. We have all this texture with. I hired this graphic artist who came on board, and Yvonne and I talked about how we could go from one thing to another and just have a little bit of a surprise here and there when the audience is kind of content and looking at something, and all of a sudden you switch gears and the music comes in. There's Brazilian music, and I love that we have texture in our film, and also obviously in design and clothes and anything. So I looked at this young guy this morning. I was watching a few things this morning, and he takes this texture and he mixes it up and changes it around. And Fern Malice is his fashion godmother, and she's a dear friend of mine. So, and she started so many things. She's incredible. So I think about that, about textures and
Amazing.
about, yeah. And what else would you do, Petra? What else do you want to do?
I want to really. I have these 500 photographs of these artists that I photographed in Vienna, and
Oh,
I want to do a exhibition and do a sort of I have this dream, this exhibition in my head, how I want to do it, and
I
I want
love
to
it.
make it sort of interactive type of thing, and I have the artists there and life in real life and the conductors so that people can connect with them or talk to them or they perform, and I want to play around with this, with silence and sound and things like that. So I have this dream of doing that because I have these, and some of these artists were students. So one a conducting student, for example, when I wrote to him and asked if I could photograph him in his window, he said he would love to, but he can't open his window because the flat where he lives in, the windows can't open. And I said, well, he said only the top window, small windows can open. I said, that's fine. I'll come anyway, and you can open these small windows. So I have a picture of him standing on the windowsill and waving
Uh,
to me through these little windows. And today he is a music director at a Romanian orchestra. And
Wow.
I think of these things, that's where he was at the time, and look where he's now. And I see all these. I sometimes walk, meet them in the street. They remember me from that time, and so somebody got engaged in lockdown, and I was the first person to got there after they got engaged, and I took a picture for them. And now they've got two babies or two children already. It's little things like that, and I want to bring that all together, and because Vienna is the place to do that. So
Exactly. Vienna and Berlin for me, the
yeah,
art just pops all the time.
absolutely, yeah,
Absolutely. And when you say that, I see a cellist playing in the space, and I see next to each photograph something, whether it's a haiku poem that you've written that is a kind of a summary of what happened,
yes,
why it
yeah,
exists. So I
yeah,
see something written that I could look at the image, read a little bit about it, and then hear this music or something behind me while it's happening. It's all immersive and
exactly,
interactive. And engages
totally.
all your senses, which is always
Mm,
exciting.
yeah.
You
So
could
yeah,
also do
we
an
all
immersive,
have our. Sorry.
you could also do an immersive one where you take over this room with three walls and all these photos. Have you seen those immersive
That's exactly what I
exhibits?
want. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds beautiful. That's
Mm,
going to be incredible too. I love that.
mm. Yeah. So that people see, because I also just a few months ago I spoke about a conductor that I did an interview with, and somebody said to me, I've never met a real conductor. I've heard, I see them on the podium, but I've never spoken to a conductor.
Mm.
What did you ask them? So it was like that. And I thought, isn't that so strange? We meet people and we talk to people, but a conductor for some people is somebody totally out of their reach. And I think it
That's so
shouldn't be like
interesting.
that, you know?
I agree with you. I agree. That's
Yeah,
interesting. That's an interesting thought, and how to make those things happen, how to
yeah.
introduce and have that interaction. The
Mm.
other thing that I was thinking, that every older adult has a story. They don't have to
Yeah,
be famous. They don't have to be, it doesn't matter. And I love the idea of this intergenerational exchange where these younger students, their project for school is to interview an older adult and get
really.
their story and fashion
Yeah,
it so that there's a beginning, middle, and an end with some archival. And just so it trains them and all these different disciplines, as well as an understanding of someone else's life and a respect for and wisdom that an older adult can give you.
yeah. And I do think, by speaking to all these artists and also different forms of art, um, it's changed my life, totally. I am not the same person going into this project, even during lockdown when I took the photographs and speaking to them through the window, or at times, I was invited in and I listened to their stories. So I'm a changed person since I started. And I think I'm putting it out in the universe for people to hear, because I think it's so motivating. I think there's so much to learn from somebody who's gone on this journey of becoming an artist, and just how they got there is so interesting. Their childhood, what they speak about, what they talk about, how they motivate themselves. It's incredible. There's for me not a motivational speaker that can come up to an artist who's gone through all their lives. Like the other day I spoke to a jazz musician. It took him 20 years to become a full-time musician, where he can only rely on the income from being a jazz musician. So
Mhm.
20 years of doing little other jobs to be able to do that. And I think how amazing, how wonderful that
Exactly.
you have that patience to do that, you know.
And
And it's the
passion,
same, yeah,
passion through. So you have to promise me, Petra, that when you do this
yeah,
exhibit, this installation, that
yes,
you interview you on your show.
yes.
I would love to do that because I
Christine, you
know
have
it's
to
going
come to
to.
the exhibition.
I will. I promise you that I will. I promise you.
Yeah,
I'm in
yeah,
Europe. I'm in Europe often, so I promise you that I love Vienna with a passion. I really
really.
love it.
Okay,
I
so
love
let me
Vienna.
know. But in the meantime, let me know when you're here. We'll grab a nice coffee in one of our very lovely coffee houses.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah.
Christine, this was so lovely to talk to you. Such a wonderful story. And I love the idea what you do. I love that you are self-taught, really, that you went
Mm.
through the whole industry and really working and saying yes and doing your thing. And I think it's such an inspiration for anybody, for any young person coming up and thinking,
Mhm.
you know, I can do it.
Saying yes and showing up is 99% of it. You can
Yeah.
always learn, you can always ask somebody to help you.
Mm.
99%. Yes, I can
And
do it.
coming from an Italian family helps.
Exactly. And then my mantra is really look for and expect miracles because they
Yeah.
happen.
Mm.
Mm.
Well, wonderful. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Petra. Really enjoyed it so, so much. I hope I get to talk to you again.
Yeah, yeah. Please let me know when you do your next documentary.
I will. Thank you
Okay.
so much.